Welcome to Hoops Hitting Gems podcast. I'm your host, David Jones. Got a special guest tonight, good friend of the show, Fonzo from Baseline to Sideline, joining us. We're doing a special recap of the Battle of the South showcase that went on this past weekend here in Atlanta. We had some really good teams. We had about 13 teams come to Atlanta and play some really good basketball. Thank you for everybody that supported. We wanted to do a recap to talk about the highlights and some of the good players, and also some players made some good noise. Fonzo, what you think?
Well, look, man, it was a solid event, and I appreciate everyone who did come to, show their support, and not just support, but they came to compete, and that's something that I know you and I will address here shortly, because it was an event that people got a chance to try to play each other, try to play teams they've never played, and have an opportunity to get after each other one way or the other.
Absolutely, man. And one of the things we talked about with this platform is we wanted to give a lot of these teams the stage to be seen, and not to be seen, but to get exposure. As you and I both know, that's what post-grad is supposed to be for, not only to get better and develop, but also to put you in front of some coaches. And this show is to talk about that because, there's coaches watching. As we talk about some of these players, and we've been tweeting out about them, there were some people that opened my eyes that were impressive. So, Fonzo, I'll give you the stage, and I'll let you start with what you thought some of the teams and some of the players you thought that stood out.
Well, we had great teams and solid teams, and one of those was that has a litany of known names from Georgia on their team, and we're going to talk about kids from all over, absolutely. But one of the teams that came in because of the name is Piney Woods and AJ White, and that young man, he never surprises me on his ability to score, because we all know he's a prolific scorer with a great knack of getting to the ball and finishing while drawing plenty of attention. But what was impressive is just the way he's truly running a team now, because sometimes he was being double, triple, then quadruple teamed, many times that he touched the ball. And that's a credit to him. I know it's, as a player, he's frustrated about it, but that's a compliment, when you're getting that tag team, then unfortunately sometimes even beat up. He handled it, and he handled it accordingly. He knew how to run a team. He was able to keep things calm, keep his head, and keep calm and collective, and that's a testament that what he's going to see at the next level at some point, whenever he chooses to make a commitment here shortly. Another impressive individual was from TD Prep, and that's Jackson Green. We're talking about a young man who just recently graduated from high school, and he's playing on TD Prep, and his IQ is superb, but more importantly, he's more of like a Swiss Army knife out there for Coach Stevens and TD Prep, because he's able to play inside, outside. If you need him on the perimeter to guard somebody, he can at 6'7", 6'6", 6'7". If you need him inside the post, if you need him outside to shoot the three. So he brings a lot of intangibles to TD Prep and some of the things they're doing. Had a chance to see most Bates, hadn't seen them at all, but they came through, and not only did they show love that we anticipated and appreciate, but they came and brought talent with them. They
Absolutely.
brought a talent base that, again, guys that aren't from Georgia area, like Jalen Kyogo, that he's from Wisconsin, big 6'5" forward, who his jump shot looks so smooth and so fluid for a guy his size, and he never hesitated. And watching him in their offense, probably for the first 2 to 3 minutes, he knocked down 3 threes in a row and never,
Man, he had a clip.
Yes, yeah, he came ready to fire that thing off, and he got him off with not only ease, but he was able to shoot over the defense, and he was able to, again, display some of his skill set playing against some of the tougher teams and matchups that they had. So seeing guys like that who we've never seen is always fun when it comes to post grad, because a lot of times we get to see a lot of the guys in the Southeast, various events who we get to see multiple times. But this is a young man who's from Wisconsin, you know what I mean? And he's down here in the Southeast now, where he's with Most Bates Academy, where they're doing wonderful things with the program in its first year. And he's able to showcase himself. And again, a young man who has picked up a lot of interest and a lot of conversations. Another guy that I was impressed with was David Dixon, that they had interiorly. I mean,
Yeah.
he played, and the game that they were in was where he didn't need to come in and do too much. You know, he came in, did what he had to do, rebound, shot the ball decently, was able to spread the floor. But the one thing I liked is him on the defensive end more than the offensive end. This is not to say that he can't be productive, because he was, but he was able to really rebound outside of his area and really display the athleticism that people look for in a guy like that. And he wasn't afraid to battle inside and be able to, you know, again, and I wasn't surprised when I finally read where he was from, because he's from Memphis. So, you know, he's just a tough-nosed guy who's not afraid to mix it up. So, yeah, I'm gonna let you go ahead and tap into some of the guys that you were impressed with.
Definitely. Since we're talking about Most Bates, the other guy that caught my eye, Alfonso, was Jamar Franklin. Man, that Jamar Franklin kid was tough, man. He can score, and he's not a guy that he's not a volume scorer. Like, he got his points within the offense. So it wasn't like he put up 30 shots to get his. You know what I'm saying? He got it within the offense. And that's what I liked about him. I said, that's a player a coach can say, hey, I can use that kid because he doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time to get, to be productive. And man, I'm big on production, but I'm also big on, you have 30 points, but, and I'm not talking about anybody that was, at our showcase, but just in general, he got his points on very minimal touches. You know what I'm saying?
He's definitely going to make the staff at Southern Alabama happy, because that's where he's headed next
South
year.
Alabama,
and he actually is he's not even a post-grad kid. He's a high school kid who left his high school to continue playing with Most Bates, because when he came up here to play on the radar event in the summertime, he balled out. And that's where Southern Alabama was looking for a high school guard, and he showed them that he could play at a high level. So he was able to help Most Bates and them beat Team Durant, which is, again, they're no quiet team from nobody knows about. Everyone knows who Team Durant was, and he did an excellent job hitting the game winner against them, because that's where I think he was able to propel himself not only onto college coaches' lists, but that's how Southern Alabama saw him, and they kept watching him all weekend. And his consistency, based on the production that you're talking about that we saw here, allowed him to catch their eye. And that's what I kind of want to interject here real quick with some people who may be watching this, players, coaches, parents, what have you, is you have to remain consistent. You have to remain consistent in what you're good at. You have to remain consistent in not only what you're also good at, but what you think. When I say what you think, what a coach thinks that you could bring to their team. It's not solely just, oh, I got to get 30, I got to get 28. It's okay, if you don't get 30, what are those 15? How impactful are those 15? You get 4 assists. How impactful was it in the winning? You get a steal. A lot of these intangibles that people fail to realize that it's what college coaches need and want.
Absolutely.
And the one thing about Franklin is he's been consistent. So seeing him, what I like about seeing him now is now he's actually body-wise college ready to play, or at least get an opportunity to play right away at Southern Alabama, or South Alabama, excuse me.
Definitely. One of the other guys that I really liked as well, there was a number of guys that I liked, but Quentin Bolton from TLAP. him coming, he established himself as a premier guy in the showcase this weekend. A lot of people was like, man, who's that 33 for a T-Lap? That dude can go. And definitely congratulations to the young man. He definitely showed he could play, and he got a good game with them. And that's another one, just like from Mo Spates, he got a clip with him too, because, man, he was knocking some shots down. I mean, effectively too.
He was. And again, not being able to see T-Lap as often as I would have liked, being able to see them this weekend in the three games that they played, it was good to see he remained consistent. He remained, his jump shot, even in the misses, they were still consistent.
Yes.
And those are the things that when you look at a guy like that, you only hope that it wasn't an anomaly for the weekend, right? You hope that it was something that it has been carried on throughout the season for him. Yeah. Because the one thing that we've all learned about watching this game these days is offense and ability to stretch the floor with your jump shot is at a premium.
Yeah.
Okay, it's at a premium. And if you're able to shoot it, because the one thing they go, no matter who you speak to, how well do they shoot it? How well do they shoot it? Mm-hmm. And that's just something that, again, you want to, as a player, you want to continue to work on that and be consistent regardless of what happens.
So let's get into some of our, I won't say who was the best this weekend. Let's just say some of our top producers. And one of them definitely was Sammy Pistis from Middle Georgia Prep. Good body, good point guard. I like his ability. Man, and Sammy showed some athleticism this week. When he caught that tip dunk, I was like, whoa, I didn't know you had that with you, guy.
What? You didn't know he had that?
Man, I didn't know he had that. I knew
if Sammy's listening to me, he already knows. I already gave him the secret on how to get them bunnies up, on a regular basis. And if he's getting that fed right now to him, I promise you, he gonna be okay. He's been doing that since he was with Trinity Prep. You know what I mean? So he's got the athleticism that people don't anticipate seeing.
Man, I've seen him play, but when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
No. I've seen enough highlights of Sammy to know, and seen him enough in person to know he's got that in him, which he will catch somebody or surprise people with it, of course. But I joked around with him, and like I said, if he's watching, and I hope they clip this so that he understands, man, I already gave him the secret sauce on how to get them bunnies up on a regular basis. So you better be following through on it and ask his boy.
Hey, man, listen, whatever he's doing, it's working, man. He looked good. He's going to be ready for Southeast Louisiana because that's where he signed to go.
Absolutely.
So he's definitely going to be ready to go down there. Congratulations to him for signing with them as well. Man, now, everybody in the show has been waiting for this. I mean, he had one of the performances of the weekend. I mean, to be honest, he lit it up. And we'll just go to it now. It's A.J. White. If somebody helped their stock this weekend, it was definitely A.J. White. I mean
absolutely.
A couple 30-point games, Fonzo. You go ahead and touch that, man.
No, absolutely. Like I said, that's why I said at the very beginning of my commentary, I mean, we all walked away, it's still impressive on his ability to score the basketball, but just being able to play in a way that it isn't just solely scoring, like you said, in terms of raising his stock and showing the ability of being able to handle the team and run the team, and his ability to score the 30. It's a mixture of lane drives, beating the press, finishing at the rim, knocking down the open three, knocking down sometimes contested threes. But more importantly is just keeping his head. I mean, he reminds me, and I'm not putting any comparison, but reminds me of the way Steph Curry made his run through with Davidson through the NCAA tournament, garnishing so much attention and still being able to get it off, and you'll see some of the highlights thanks to Bonafide, who shows that the young man was getting double, triple, quadruple teamed and still managed to get 30. He did it against TD Prep, and I think he still managed to get 20 some odd points. So, those are things that those teams knew who he was, and they still said, okay, we're going to do everything we can that he doesn't beat us. And in some cases, he didn't beat them, but in other cases, against other teams that were there, I mean, he still managed to get the 30 ball that a lot of people are accustomed to him doing.
And just to touch on that a little bit more, and this as well, I definitely want to give a shout out to Anton Marchand, the Cleveland Cavaliers scout who pulled up to the event, and he left impressed with AJ's performance as well. And I mean, he even said, he was like, that kid can go. He is definitely a D1 prospect. He just needs to find the right fit. And he even made a phone call to one of his connects to say, hey, you may want to look at this guy,
Well, the thing about it and he's right. I'm just going to go out and say it. He's right. There are several programs across this country that love guys and guards of his ability and size. The thing is finding the right one, finding the one that's going to trust him with the ball in his hands, that's going to rely and they're going to live with when I say criticism, people are going to be like, oh, why did you take a guy that small? Why, at the end of the day, he plays basketball. All right. And basketball sometimes can't be measured in size. You can be measured by his heart. And the kid's got a heart. He seems like he's in a great space mentally. He seems like he's in a great space and comfort playing basketball for Piney Woods and Coach Carr. So it's finding the right situation that fits best for him. You can't, what people need to, and I hope he gets a chance to hear this, to understand that it's not about anyone else. It really isn't. And you're going to go to where you're going to go. People are going to talk regardless of whether you go to a high major or you go to a low major. They're going to talk regardless. So you got to be comfortable enough with yourself to understand, let me find what fits me. Let me find what is best for me because I'm going to be on campus. All right. And then let me go from there with it.
Absolutely, man. I mean, his situation's so unique, and everybody verbatim is saying the same thing. If AJ was 6'2" or 6'3", we wouldn't even be having these conversations right now. It's, the age-old adage that, coaches always say, does he pass the eye test? Well, sometimes you have to look a little bit past the eye test, because when a kid can flat out play and he shows you he can play, you got to have the courage to make that step and take a chance on a kid.
Well, it does take courage from a coach. It does take them willing to trust themselves and trust how they can incorporate them into their program and into the offense that they may run. All right. It does take a lot of courage in understanding who you are as a coach, who you are as a program, but unfortunately, when I say the eyes punish the kid, again, your first introduction to people is through your eyes. No matter, and they'll look at him and immediately, just because of his size, oh, I'm not really interested. So they're half looking, they're half paying attention. But then when he actually does what he's doing, then it's like, wait a minute, hold on, maybe I should pay attention. But because they've already made a prejudice or an opinion based on what they saw early in terms of, not passing the airport test, not passing the eye test, walking through the airport, that's immediately a turnoff. And sometimes I think pro coaches need to trust themselves, need to especially assistant coaches, because a lot of times assistant coaches are the first ones who see a kid, and they got to be like, okay, I got to see enough of him, and if I like him for whatever, and if he wasn't where he has, and if he was 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", can I really get him? Can I really get him at that point? Because if he was that size, as you said, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation. He would have went to a place out of high school, possibly, if it would have been the right fit, right situation. And then next, we're not even having a conversation about it right now. He would probably be in somebody's starting lineup on campus. Yeah. But because people are just judgmental with their eyes, all right, and then because, yes, are there flaws in his game, just like there are flaws in the thousands of kids, millions of kids playing across the globe? Of course. But what he does well, he does it at a high clip.
Absolutely. There's no denying that. I mean, anybody that denies that, you have to question, their motives, because anybody in Georgia and people that were even at the showcase that are not from Georgia, you can't dispute that he's going to get a bucket, especially if you're going to watch him one-on-one. He will go get you a bucket. I mean, on somebody that's 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", he can still get a shot off. He can still get to the bucket. He's impressive. I mean, just plain and simple. And we talked about this a little bit. The only thing that people, and I get it, people may be a little bit nervous about is, okay, when we go back on the D end, if he still has to watch that 6'4" guard.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, there are several guards who have come through the state of Georgia who are the same size as he is, or have
done well,
are under 6 feet for the most part, or at 6 feet for the most part, and they did exceptionally well.
Yeah,
playing at the next level. Granted, all three of them, all four of them, whatever, have different games than he does, and they have different games than he does. It's all varying.
But it's all fit, like you said, Fonzo. It's the fit. If he went, you remember back in the day when East Tennessee State had what was the small guard that ended up going to pro for a little bit? The point guard. Who?
No, it wasn't Rogers, because Rogers played. I know you're talking about. I can't
Keith
think
Jennings.
of his name.
Keith Jennings.
Huh? Yes,
remember?
yes.
Keith Jennings. Like, AJ's taller than Keith Jennings, but I could see a situation like that, and maybe it doesn't even have to be, a Keith Jennings or Earl Boykins, because AJ's not that small. No. But my point is, he could be able to dominate like that in the right fit. If it's situations like a Keith Jennings when he was at East Tennessee State, or Earl Boykins when he was at Eastern Michigan, and we can go on and on. There are a number of players that can get off under 6 foot, man. And I think he has the tools to do it if somebody pulls that trigger, and maybe it may not be that first year. It may be that second or third year where he really explodes onto the scene. But I think people are definitely missing out if, they don't take a chance. And I think, not only that, I think you would agree as well, Fonzo. There's nobody in Georgia that questions him getting buckets. Nobody.
No, I mean, you're talking about a 2,000-point score. If you question it, you're beyond foolish.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, even Mo went out and tweeted that, AJ's the real deal. So, you got Mo, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers scout, and hey, what do we know? We just two guys watching a bunch of high school games and post grad and college games, but it's being certified outside of our opinions as well, man. So, I definitely want to show him some love, man. That guy, man, he was beyond impressive. Definitely impressive. Another guy that, I won't say he was under the radar, that, sometimes a lot of people don't talk about enough. Man, Zach Bell, man.
Zach Bell is probably by far one of the freakish guards I've seen in a long time. I mean, he is uber athletic. He is explosive. But the thing that I've noticed differently from him, especially playing with TD Prep, is his ability to run the point, run the show, and call plays. He's hitting his shot consistently, because no one will question his defensive energy. No one will question his motor. No one will question his athleticism. It's his leadership quality that I'm not going to say people question, but they wanted to see him be more vigilant about. And he has done that. And when he caught one off the backboard off of a missed shot, I was like, good Lord, that just shows you the kind of athleticism he is. And he's, again, it's one of those that if he played football, he'd be on a Power 5 program in a heartbeat, and it's just putting him on the hardwood and seeing him do what he does I mean, he's by far easily one of the most explosive athletes I've seen in a long time at that position.
And with Zach coming out of Augusta, and that's not a bad thing because he was still very well known coming out of Augusta. Is that a situation, Fonzo, if you think Zach was in Atlanta, that would have helped his recruitment even more?
I mean, there's a possibility. I mean, the only thing that has hurt a lot of kids like Zach is just the year that we're in, the last 2 years
COVID.
that
Yeah.
we're in. So I just feel that, but still in there again, there's still some things that teams like and don't like. There's things coaches like and don't like. So they just want to see kids improve on certain things. Now, again, if we would have been a different situation, if here's in Atlanta, with so many people here in Atlanta, he would have been oversaturated in certain areas. Oversaturated in commentary. I mean, whether it's ourselves or many others, just plugging him along. But what is interesting that even though he was in Augusta, he still got that.
Yeah,
he still got that kind of attention. So it's not. It wasn't that. It's just sometimes you got to be able to see certain qualities that programs are looking for. Once again, going back to what they like. Because you and I can go to a car dealership, like 2 cars. Very similar cars, but they may have something different one way or the other that we may like. And that's how this recruitment has become. And especially with the transfer portal, it's like, instead of getting a newer guy like a Zach Bell, they're jumping in the transfer portal like a used car lot and trying to find the best bang for their buck.
Agree. We talked about Sammy, we talked about Zach, we talked about AJ. We talked about Quentin Bolton. That definitely, those were some of the top ones. Let's side note real quick. You high academic coaches, you definitely need to get at Jackson Green. A 3.8 GPA. You need to get at that guy. That guy can go. So you Furmans, you Davidsons, you Young Harrises, you Georgia College and State Universities. Those type of schools, you definitely need to take a look at that guy and see what he can bring to the table. I talked to his mom. She's big on academics, so that would be their preference. So any of you guys that are watching this tonight or watch the clips, you definitely need to take a look at Jackson Green from TD Prep, one of the high academic prospects that could definitely be a nice addition to a program. But there's one guy that we talked about, and I raved about this guy. He is definitely one of my top 5. Absolutely one of my top 5. And man, Jordan Burks from Central Point Christian Academy. I left thoroughly impressed with him. First of all, shout out to Central Point and the head coach. What was the head coach's name, Fonzo?
My man, Christian Dalmau, baby.
Man, listen. Not only does he run awesome sets, I mean, to be honest, I think he was one of the best coaches of the showcase this weekend. I mean, a lot of us that were on the sidelines are like, man, I'll steal some of them sets. Those sets, the out-of-bounds sets were good. The half-court sets were good. And I told anybody that doubted Central Point to say, oh, they don't have the horses. I said, some of you all will be threatened to play them because you all don't play defense enough for those sets. And those sets give the 3rd and 4th and 5th option the chance to score. And all those kids are very well coached. The majority of them can hit the 15 to 20 footer, which makes them dangerous. Now, am I saying all of them were freakishly athletic? No, of course I'm not saying that. But they all played very well together as a team. But that Jordan Burks guy, we will be seeing him playing for some Power 5 somewhere.
Well, Jordan Burks out of Alabama, he's a young man who came in and I've seen not only numerous clips of him, just I've heard based on conversations with a lot of the folks down at Central Point. And yes, he came to them, and after being at another school and was able to be part of this team that, ironically, most of the guys on that team they weren't post-grad guys. They only had 3 post-grad guys. The rest of them are high school level kids, who were playing up. And when they came in, again, I know nobody knows who Central Point is. Nobody knows who half them kids on the roster are. But the one thing they know how to do is play basketball. And Jordan Burks is definitely one of them. He's out of Alabama, who has offers already from the University of Florida, and has had an opportunity to really showcase his skills playing for them. He wasn't just a 6'9", 6'8.5" guy running up and down the floor, just trying to dunk everything or just trying to ball hog everything. He was playing within the flow of every set that they called and knocked down wide open threes because he found himself wide open, based on cuts, based on reads. Then he also was able to, again, show his ability to play defense and be a rim protector, even though he's not necessarily a rim protector, knows how to handle the ball on the wing. In the sets and the things that they do, he's allowed some freedom to, again, get open, create opportunities, but more importantly, find other guys on the team to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The other thing, and a lost start, and somebody made a comment in the stands that I had to agree with. They said he had an old school game. You know what I'm saying? He definitely had that old school game, but he moves great without the ball as well, man. He's effective, man. Like when I saw him, I was like, oh, I like this kid. Honestly, when we sit down, maybe tonight, Fonzo, he would be one that makes the all showcase team.
No, he definitely, like I said, he would be in the conversation for sure. And it'd be a short conversation, but he's one that he came up here, showed what he's capable of doing, and as more teams get really a wind of him and get a chance to possibly see him in the summertime play for somebody, he's gonna impress a lot of people, and he's gonna make a lot of people really not only jot his name down now, but really take a good look at him once the travel season and as they continue the remainder of their actual season.
Well, the other thing, Fonzo, he's a 2023 guy.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And with him being 2023, I'm sure he'll be on somebody's circuit this summer. He just recently took a unofficial to Florida State as well. So I thoroughly expect his recruitment to explode this summer. Definitely.
You know what I actually think? Like, I don't think he'll leave the state of Florida because both of those programs, both the University of Florida and Florida State, love guys like him. And let's throw in Miami while we're at it, because they love guys like him. Coach Larinaga and my guy Billy Courtney down there, and Chris Capto. Those are my guys, and they love guys with that kind of length, those kind of skill sets to be able. And they've done not only successfully within their conferences, but also being able to prepare them for the next level.
Oh yeah, definitely. CY does wonders at Florida State. I could definitely see CY getting his hands on somebody like that, and he's turning them kids into pros at Florida State.
Well,
and Coach Hamilton, they do an amazing job.
Look, and Florida's in the race because they've already offered, and Coach White and my guys Eric Pastrana and Ed Pigney, that they've already offered them, so they paid attention to make sure that they try to get that guy on their respective campus.
Oh yeah, and I'm quite certain Central Florida jump in, South Florida jump in, Coach Dixon down there in South Florida, like all of those guys are going to jump in Florida, and then I'm sure Georgia and some of the other SEC schools will probably shoot their shot as well. You know what I mean? So like, absolutely. Definitely one of the guys that was definitely one of our all showcase team guys. Some of the other guys, like I want to talk about some guys that they didn't come in here where people knew a lot about them, but they did do very well. Maybe some of the people in Georgia knew, but even some of the guys that were from out of state that I really liked. Trayvon Ragland from Tennessee Valley Prep. I've been seeing on Twitter where he's been playing solid for them. And Tennessee Valley Prep, they shocked Columbia State earlier this year. And Trayvon Ragland was very pivotal in that. So when he came, I said, let me take a look at this guy to see, what the big deal. I got a quick chance to take a look at him when New Rock had a little showcase back in October. So I saw him, but I didn't get to see enough. I wanted to see more. And then as the buzz started to, jump about him, after they had the big win over Columbia State, the JUCO, because Columbia State was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were like 24th at the time when they beat them. Mm-hmm. And he played very well that game. And he had a good weekend as well. What do you think?
No, he was one thing is I've known about him. He's been solid. Had a chance to even before that event that we both were at in October, he's always been consistent in what he's done, right? And he understands how to play. He's never too rattled, and we talked about production, right? And what his production isn't always a 30-point performance. What his production is he grades out probably, in the high A's, mid to high A's a lot of times. Not all the time. He'll have some B's and C's, but his grade out would be around an A because he's able to handle the ball, shoot the ball, distribute the ball, just play defense, do things that he did this weekend that allowed Tennessee Valley Prep to stay in some games, compete, and actually win, as opposed to just come and compete and run ragged up and down the floor. So those are just some of the things that they were able to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Another kid that caught my attention as well, and this was my first time actually getting a chance to see them play, was the big fella from Mock Valley Prep, Kobe Smith. Kobe Smith played very well. Hard-nosed type of kid. Not quite sure where Kobe's from. I would have to take a look, but definitely one of those hard-nosed kids that stood out from Mock Valley. He was able to get to the bucket. He's physical. He plays hard. I could see him being a fit somewhere where a coach would be like, I like that type of kid. He had a motor that was active. He was on the boards. He was aggressive going to the basket, very aggressive going to the basket. So I like Kobe Smith as well. One of the guys that he's an interesting candidate because he runs alongside with A.J. White, and he's the floor general for Piney Woods, is Najee Cologne. I love the tenacity on defense. And actually, he did a good job this week of showing me something different. His offensive game picked up this weekend, which I thought was, okay, for Najee to catch people's attention. He's always been a defensive prospect. Yes, he plays tough, man-to-man, in-your-chest type defense. Yes, but Najee needed to score this weekend, and actually he did a pretty good job because AJ had the 33 to 1 game, and Najee had 18. But we both knew coming into this that, that backcourt tandem for Piney Woods was going to be the attraction getter for them. But to be quite honest, there was another guy. They're big for Piney Woods because I talked to Thomas afterwards. The big for Piney Woods, number 15.
Ajani,
man, he's gotten so much better. He's gotten a lot better over the season. And I wanted to point that out because I didn't want that to go unnoticed. Man, I see you, big fella. You battled against Mo Spates, and you honestly, don't get me wrong, AJ was the one that had it going. Najee was running the show, but it was you, big fella, down there battling with Mo Spates that kept y'all close and in the game. So, I looked at that like, hey, man, from when I saw him the first time to now, I said, hey, that guy's getting a lot better, and he's under the radar. That's a guy that people might want to pay attention to, 6'7-ish, 6'8-ish in that frame, something like that. Probably about 180 pounds, you think, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's whatever you anticipate of a guy from the Virgin Islands, he's exactly that. Real laid back off the court,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I saw earlier this year. But
Okay.
what I saw this weekend showed me that he's not only working, he's working to try to make sure, not to try, making sure that people recognize who he is and his efforts.
Yeah.
And he definitely is one of those guys that when you see teams go from September and October and then watch them now, okay, you want to see that kind of progression. And he's one of those guys that, 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", who had some interest coming in from a lot of schools here in the States. And that will continue to pick up for him as he continues to play, because he understands how to play. His motor again has revved up. He's no longer just a pontoon boat cruising down the stream. He's actually, now he's on the speedboat, looking to get up and down the floor, looking to be a rim protector, looking to be effective on the offensive end. And what he's added to his game, which again goes back to my commentary earlier, he's extending the floor with his jump shot.
Yeah.
So those are the things that when you look at it and you look at the grand scheme of things, that kind of improvement is what college coaches are probably going to want to see from him, as well as many other guys as they continue to look for players throughout the year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Since we're on the tune with bigs right now, another guy that caught my attention, and you saw him play too as well, from North Florida Prep, the big guy, Joyful Hawkins.
Look, Joyful Hawkins, I've been watching that young man for a long time. Joyful Hawkins, in terms of bigs, was probably the most talented of them, in terms of just being able. And again, he's another one who really should be in actual high school, but has decided to go and take a prep year early, to be able to, again, allow him more time in the gym to be able to focus on his game, and he was able to show the range, show the ability to handle the ball, great motor. And these are none of the things that are surprising to me. His athleticism is off the chart. His ability to block shots with minimal contact is, and seeing the ball and blocking the ball at his highest peak. Those are things that, again, you look at how he does it and you're like, man, there's no way he should be doing it, but he does it in a way that you walk away saying to yourself, man, he's got a chance to be something special and do what he has to do to make things work out.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. Definitely a prospect, was glad to get a chance to see him this weekend. And when Coach Harris told me he was coming, I was like, oh, yeah. I said, I look forward to seeing him. And he didn't disappoint. I mean, he did well. He did well. He played a solid weekend. North Florida Prep played some really good games. The North Florida Prep game versus Tennessee Valley Prep was probably one of the better games of the whole showcase. And it came down to a shot with like 2 seconds left. Tennessee Valley hit the shot with 2 seconds left to win the game. I mean, they were back and forth. I mean, both teams were making runs to get back in the game, and it was just seesaw back and forth. That was definitely one of the better games of the event. Another interesting prospect, man. Elite Sports Academy. First of all, shout out to Coach Tony Leonard, man. A lot of people didn't know that much about Elite Sports Academy Prep. They're here in Atlanta, down in Fayetteville, man, and they're not a bad team at all, at all.
They play hard.
Yeah, they play hard. A lot of times, when you don't hear teams and, people may say, oh, well, don't nobody know much about them. They came and played very well. And I like the kid from Elite Sports Academy. He's from the Midwest. Darnell Turner had one of the highlight dunks of the whole weekend. Boy, he dunked on Tennessee Valley Prep Bonafide caught that one, and I saw it, because I was watching. I was like, ooh, who is that? Very freakishly athletic. In that Zach Bell, some of our better athletes of the showcase type athleticism. And I think he's like 6'1" or 6'2" in that range. And man, he went up and I mean, he went up over the guy. The guy started coming down, and he was still going up. And I like that kid. I'm gonna get to see some more of Elite Sports Academy, so I'm gonna go check out some more of their games since they're here in Atlanta. But I definitely were glad that they came and showed love, and we showed them love. But I think they may have some pieces down there because they got some of their bigs from Detroit. So you could tell they had that Midwestern tough style of ball. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's where Darnell's from. I mean, he and Kobe Holiday, they both happen to be from the same high school. So, he and again, either something may be wrong with their typing, but they got him listed as 6 foot. So they got Darnell listed as a 6-footer. So I'm just like, I'm even more impressed by his ability to get up and dunk it the way he did. But no, they played hard, and Coach Leonard just had them really in a way that he played the game from the standpoint of, hey, you may not know who we are, but you'll remember who we are once we're done playing.
Absolutely. The last couple of guys I wanted to talk about are all from the same team. Middle Georgia Prep brought two teams up. We talked about Sammy. I definitely wanted to talk about big fella, Jayden Schatter. Big fella was down there putting hands on folks. Like, he's one of those old school, get the ball, go up, get fouled. He doesn't get the foul, gets the ball again, go back up. And I mean, he'll wear you down with that type of play. And there were a lot of teams that didn't have an answer for the big fella. He was tough down low. And I've seen Middle Georgia Prep play a couple times, and he's getting better throughout the season. Because if I'm not mistaken, he's from Albany, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Like I said, he was impressive, and watching him again make improvements from earlier this year just shows you the amount of time he's spending in the gym and really working at his craft and trying to get things done.
No question. That's a shout out to Coach Trivy down there and what they do. They do work hard, and just leads into our next guy, Marcos East. Marcos East played well for Middle Georgia Prep. Marcos had, I think, the last game when they beat Tennessee Valley Prep, he ended up with 14. And it was another 14 where it was a productive 14 where he's not just launching, where it took 25, 30 shots to get 14 points. Nah, He was an effective, low volume shooter that got those 14. And you look up, oh man, he had 14. Man, I didn't even pay no attention. You paid attention to the other stuff he was doing, but to see, it was a good all-around game for him. And the other guy I definitely wanted to mention for Middle Georgia Prep on that other team was Greg Jones. Greg Jones played very well also. Greg, and I'll even add one other guy he's on the radar of some Peach Belt schools, and that's DeCameron. DeCameron's playing very good. It's DeCameron Porter, if I'm not mistaken. DeCameron, I think he has a couple Peach Belts that are interested in him. He's about 6'8" in that range. Can get up and down the floor. I mean, he's also he looks like a stretch 4, but has wing capabilities. So I think when he gets to wherever destination, with the development, he can play that 3 to 4. He'll be that stretch 4, possibly big wing. You know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely.
I liked what I saw from him. Middle Georgia had a good showing, and to be honest, man, I was pleased with what we saw athletically and from a team perspective. We had some really good teams. We had some really good players that played, and I look forward to it next year. I mean, we talked about doing this January 21st and 22nd next year in between the MLK holiday event and the Military Cup event. So we can really bring some really good teams in next year. And, I'm excited, man. I was excited with what I saw. Brother, it's been a pleasure working with you and just seeing what this can end up being in next year.
No, absolutely. I mean, looking forward to the growth and seeing what teams return. But I'm more importantly looking forward to seeing where some of these guys go.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the biggest thing. It's this platform is for to see these kids that are in post grad be able to go somewhere. I think one of the biggest success stories last year was the kid from CBA. What's Malik's last name? I charge it to my head. He's now at the University of Toledo, and Toledo's 15-4, and he's playing good minutes at Toledo. And he was a CBA kid last year. So, I want to see more success stories like that, man, from this. Like next year, we'll be able to say, hey, you remember the podcast and you remember we talked about this kid? Well, of course, Sammy is, going somewhere. Jordan will probably be a 3 or 4 star by this time next year. Right. And a lot of these kids, I want to see them. And again, Fonzo, I'm big on this as well. I don't want this to be misconstrued that we want all of you all to go D1. If you go D1, great. I want to be able to say, hey, he's at an NAI getting great minutes. Hey, he's at a high academic D3 getting minutes in playing. I don't want you guys to be stuck on, I got to go D1 or bust. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that can be a huge mistake for these young guys just holding out for D1 offers, and they're passing over some good NAI opportunities, some HBCU opportunities, heck, even some JUCO opportunities. Because, one thing I talk about as well, it's not just about JUCO D1. Go JUCO D2 and put up some numbers on Synergy so you can be seen. Go JUCO D3, put up some numbers on Synergy that you can be seen. Go JUCO Independent, wherever your fit is, man. That's what this is supposed to be about, man. Stop saying, I want to be on ESPN Monday or Wednesday night. That's not what this is about. And finally, go somewhere that has your major.
True. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, like I'm more of like just go wherever you can go, so that you can get out of your parents' house and you have an op, or even if you got to commute, but either way, just so that their work and their commitment to help you get to where you wanted to go to is not a loss. It's not lost in you trying to chase a dream that may not be a possibility. Yeah. All right. Because at the end of the day, yes, D1 is great. The private flights, the food, the per diem, the clothes, the gear, the countless other things. But the experiences at all the other levels have varying degrees of fun, varying degrees of opportunities that, again, you may end up seeing more of the world playing at a D3 school than a D1 athlete ever gets to see. Absolutely. All right. And again, you could tell me I'm lying, but there's a lot of people, and the person speaking is one of them, who has had an opportunity to play D3 and seen parts of the world that I had never anticipated seeing. And I just went to a D3 school and played my role, went to a JUCO prior to that. So I understood it. And this is without the knowledge and information that you're providing on this platform, that I provide on BTS Report, on Twitter and everything else, is just find a place where you get to fit, you get to play, you get to enjoy. The experience on campus should never be equated to the level you're playing. Okay, absolutely. Let me repeat that. The experience on campus should never be equated to the level you're playing. Because if you're like, I get to go to D1 and have a great time, let me inform you, just in case you didn't know, it's a full-time job being a college athlete, but it is even larger when you play Division One. And if you're committed to the game, it's going to be a job. All right. Let me just make that very clear. But also, if you end up even at Division Three, it is a job. But again, the experience that you make it, all right, you are going to walk away with the experience that you're able to have.
Absolutely. Man, in closing, again, I want to thank everybody that was supportive this weekend. Definitely big shout out to Bonafide. The video work was top notch. You know what I'm saying? That really helped this event. Thank all you guys thank the coaches that came to support. Again, thank Antoine for coming from the Cavaliers. And we're just going to grow this, man, and make this into something special in due time.
Absolutely.
So that's going to do it for the tonight's show. We just wanted to recap. We probably will drop tonight like an all showcase team and some notable players as well. Fonzo and I will talk about that some, where we think the top 5 or 6 guys that should make the all showcase team. Do not chop our heads off if it's not one of your guys. We will have notable players.
It's okay if they do. I got a thick enough neck. They're gonna have to sharpen the knife.
Definitely. And I think we accomplished what we were trying to do. And now the buzz is there to really take this and run with this and make this a yearly event to make it, something special.
Absolutely.
So that'll do it for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was just a special edition of Hoops Hitting Gems podcast with Baseline to Sideline. We'll be back on Monday night as usual with another great show. You guys take care and thank you for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you.